Welcome back. In other videos, we've talked about opportunity cost and how to calculate it. We've also talked about the production possibility frontier. Let's see how we can observe opportunity cost in the production possibility frontier. So to do that, we're going to set up a PPF. And we'll use the old school traditional example of guns and butter. So the idea being the trade-off between national defense spending and consumption spending. And we're going to set up our PPF to have increasing opportunity costs. All right, so this is our PPF with increasing opportunity costs. So how can we see opportunity cost in this? Well, let's look at an example. So suppose that we're making 9 guns. So 9 guns. And that leads to something like, not quite the scale, but let's call it 2 butters can be made. And we decide we want more butters. So we reduce our production of guns to 8 guns. And now we get something like 4 butters. So those are our 2 combinations. So let's call one point A and let's call one point B. So what's our opportunity cost of butter? So I always struggle when thinking about these relationships. Wait, what goes in the numerator? What goes in the denominator? So I always remind myself it's $10 is the price of 1 pizza. Okay, what does that have to do with guns and butter? Well, if we want to find the opportunity cost of butter, we can think about what's the cost of pizza. So the opportunity cost of butter, it's just a ratio, right? What are we giving up for what are we getting? Well, we got 2 butters, and we know that that goes in our denominator because the cost of pizza is $10, right? $10 per 1 pizza. The cost of what we're talking about goes in the denominator. So what is the cost? What did we give up? What was our price we paid? It was 1 gun. Now, how does 1G over 2B, what does that mean? Well, now we just simplify it down, right? So it's a half a gun per 1 butter. That's our opportunity cost. Okay, what about a different point on the graph? So let's suppose that we just sort of keep working our way down, and maybe we're making 4 guns and an awful lot of butters. So let's say that's like 8.5 butters. Right, so 4 guns, 8.5 butters. And we say, well, what if we cut back our national defense spending even further? What if we cut it back to only making, say, 3 guns? Yeah, we get some more butters, but it's not very many more. Right? We do get some more, but maybe it's like 9. So that means we're only getting a half a butter in return for giving up a gun. All right, so what's our opportunity cost? So if we go cost of butter, what is it equal to? Well, we've got to put in our denominator, how much butter did we get? All right, so 0.5 butters, and what did we give up? We gave up 1 gun. So that's equal to 2 guns per 1 butter. All right, so we've worked through the math. I understand that's not necessarily the fun part. You're thinking, wait, he said we're going to see opportunity cost in the production possibility frontier. where do we see it here? I see a bunch of math, but I don't necessarily see it in this graph. So opportunity cost of the good that's on the horizontal axis is just the slope of the production possibility frontier, right? So slope is equal to rise over run. What we give up to get one more of what's on our horizontal axis. That's our opportunity cost. So let's look at this movement from A to B. So if we look at the slope, just a tangential line to the curve, you could work this all out with calculus, and we don't want to do that. Right? So if we just draw a tangential line to measure the slope of the curve midway in between A and B, we see that this is a somewhat flat slope. Right? So we're being maybe a little loose, but somewhat flat slope, which equates to a relatively low opportunity cost. Versus down here, I guess we could mark our dots a little bit more clearly. In the steeper part, right, if we were to draw in our slope, we see now it's relatively steep as we're pushing forward to get the last butter. So here, we've got a relatively steep slope, which equates to a high opportunity cost. So hopefully you're starting to get a feel for when we start out moving from guns towards butter, our slope is relatively flat. We have a pretty low opportunity cost. But as we keep pushing to make more and more butters, now we're using tools, equipment, etc. that's good for making guns, national defense equipment, and not so good at making consumer goods. And our opportunity cost of that last consumer good is considerably higher. That's the idea with this bowed out PPF and how we can see and calculate opportunity cost along the production possibilities frontier. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.